Good evening, Warriors, and welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. Robert, man, what's happening?
I mean, we're into Super Bowl week. We got
Yes.
media day tomorrow. We got a little reflection of Pro Bowl.
No, that's
Very,
it.
very minute.
That's it.
But
That's all we get.
it's not about me right now. Guess what? It is about you, sir. Congratulations. Number 300 last night, and did it during our Pro Bowl, during our league.
Yeah, it was a good time. Claffey was making fun and asking if anybody had ever thrown a 300 in the Pro Bowl, so I had to make sure that the answer was yes. So literally 20 minutes later, I accomplished it. So thank you very much. Very happy with it.
But more importantly, it was about people talking about your socks in all the videos.
The socks were the best.
I posted it to our bowling page. I posted it to the R&R page, and even my own personal page. And all everybody could talk about was just your socks.
Hey, the socks were a goal to distract people. Well, when I bowled this year, they did not work in the regular season. It did not work in our playoffs, but they damn sure worked in the Pro Bowl. So I finally found exactly when I can pull them out, and now they will sit in my dresser after they get washed, of course, until Pro Bowl.
I don't know. Sure. I saw you make a comment that you weren't washing, and that scares me a little bit. I don't know how the kids would like that.
No, they get washed. That's for sure. Yes, it would be a mess if not. All right, we got a very, very jam-packed show today. We're going to talk about Joel Damon at Pebble Beach and the great run that he was on. Of course, it is Super Bowl week, as Robert said. We're going to go through some fun prop bets because that's what we did last year, and we had a lot of fun with it. And making Robert tally up how many commercials had dogs in them is my favorite thing to do on the show. So we will do that. Of course, are we done with job hires now? Is everybody filled up their head coaching spot with the last two today?
At 3:45 today, New Orleans Saints hired their coach. We'll talk about that.
So we'll talk about we haven't talked about college basketball in a few weeks. I think we will be able to squeeze some of that in as well. And there was a sporting event in a football stadium that happened on Sunday, and we will break it down. And no, it's not the Pro Bowl. It was a much better event that happened, and we will get to that as well as all of the high school sports and stuff. But Robert, man, we got some fun guests today.
Dude, I am so excited about this and excited to bring these guys on. And we want to hit all kinds of local sports. You and I talked about this for many years, and we're excited. And we're going to the realm of MMA fighting. We're going to bring in my buddy Brian McElroy and Jared Fisher from Arnett's Martial Arts America. Let's see. Hey, gentlemen, what's going on tonight?
How's it going?
How's it going, guys?
Well, Brian and Jared, you guys are kind of the faces there at Arnett's Martial Arts Studio. First, Brian, I've known you now about 6 years. How did you get involved with the stuff there at Arnett's place?
Moving to the Valley, I never really had any combat sports experience, no martial arts experience. But I was fortunate to kind of run in the same circles as Austin Arnett, and getting to know him and his dad. I knew they had the dojo up there, and it kind of appealed to me. Something inside me wanted to go up there and see if I could handle getting punched. So I went up there one day, and just the people there. I mean, Jared was there already. Our sensei Frank Arnett, rest in peace, was there. It was just a community that I guess I had never really had before. So, I mean, it was just kind of knowing Austin, knowing Frank, seeing that they were good people, and then trying my hand in fighting, I guess. It kind of drew me there, and I've been there ever since. So I think it's 3 years now. So no crazy story. I just wanted to go up there and see what it was all about, and I haven't left since.
It's been that long, 3 years?
I think so. 3 years. I took some time off.
Well, it's crazy. So now, Brian, you and I have known each other about 5 or 6 years. You coach track and field at Clarkson High School and done that. Mm-hmm. And so you introduced me to the guy on your left, Jared, last year, about this time with your big bout. Jared, how did you get involved many years ago?
Man, I competed powerlifting for the longest time, about 7 years on a professional level. I moved to the Valley, kind of wanted to put up the weightlifting. You could be big and very unhealthy. So that's kind of where I was at. And I've always I was a wrestler in high school, and I always kind of wanted to, try mixed martial arts out. And it just happened I found Frank and Austin, and they kind of took me under their wing. And about 3 months into training, I blew out my bicep and had to have my arm completely reconstructed. But I got right back in there after about 6-7 months and took my first fight and won, and just have been hooked ever since, so.
How is that? Because obviously you both have had fights, going out there in the cage to basically fight somebody in front of an audience, and not only try to win your fight, but put on the show for everyone else. What is that feeling you get when you first go into a cage?
Oh man, it's you can't describe it. It's I don't know, the closest thing I can compare it to is when I went out on the mats for a wrestling meet, except there's a bunch of matches going on at once. Not all eyes are on you. You get out there, the cage locks, and you kind of forget everything that's around you, and you just focus on that person in front of you, and it's a great feeling.
Yeah, I had my first fight back last May, and I've been a competitor my whole life. Like, I ran track in college. But like Jared said, there's nothing that compares to that walkout where your objective that night is to get into a cage and fight another man. It's gives you goosebumps for sure. There's a lot of nerves. Our coach Austin gave me the best advice, which was just to embrace whatever emotion came to you in the moment. If you're feeling happy, be happy. If you're feeling aggressive, be aggressive. Don't try to put on a front. Just ride the wave. And man, yeah, it's like the most adrenaline I've ever felt in my life. And clearly I liked it because I'm going back.
Now, you talked a lot about Austin. Let's go just one generation back, and Frank and what he's. You can't go into this valley and not talk about karate dojo fighting without hearing Frank Arnett's name. Tell us a story that maybe both of you each have a story about Frank that we could share. That's appropriate to share, I guess, about him as a man.
Oh,
go for it.
Okay. Well, to start off with, Frank and I share the same birthday, so I always felt a connection with him there, October 10th. But there wasn't, I don't know, he just had like this quiet confidence and presence about him. But what I just enjoy, or something that always sticks with me, it was just every time walking into the dojo, he had this smile, an infectious smile, but also the warmth that it gave off. So you're going in there to participate in what some might deem violent, but he just had a way to calm everybody, control everything around him. Just a quiet confidence, and he didn't need to say many words to grab your attention and kind of make you understand what things were about, but at the same time make you feel confident in yourself. Just being around him for the short time that I was grew me as a man, and I was already 26 years old. So I think what he did for my confidence, what he did for my self-esteem, everything like that, just by being there and being that presence, is something that I'll remember and always be thankful for.
That's just it. Just showing up at the dojo every day, seeing a smiling face, and he was very very quiet in a sense, but he always had the best advice whenever you went to him, whether it be on the mats or off the mats. He always had the best advice to give you, and you just wanted to be a better person around him, or in general in life. And yeah, I'm just thankful that I got the chance to know him, and even when I walk into the dojo to this day, I feel his presence there, and he's watching over us, and it's a good feeling for sure.
Yeah, and then Frank's been gone about a year and a half now. Those that don't know, about a year and a half now. How has Austin kind of taken what Frank has built to start making it his own?
He's following in his footsteps very well. He's grown a lot as a man, as a coach, as a fighter. He's done great, and he's been expanding things like he brought Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the dojo. There's just so much he's doing, that I know his father would be proud of.
Yeah, he stepped up big time, with him being in the midst or in the middle of his own career, and then kind of taking over, just to see the growth that he's made, but also how responsible he was when everything happened, and him kind of taking a stand and saying like, this is my family dojo, and I'm going to take this to the next level. He's continued to do that. He didn't really miss a beat, and I have the utmost respect for him because of how hard something like that might have been, or would have been. I know all of us guys there at the dojo are very thankful that he's there, and know for a fact that he's made his dad very proud.
So, talk a little bit about team execution. Those of you that know, we posted a picture earlier. Who makes up team execution? I mean, besides you two, there's a lot of guys that are in that dojo that make up that team.
Oh man, we got some amazing talent in there. We got Dimitri Morales. He's young, up and coming, hungry. Got 2 finishes in his last 2 fights. Jesse Gangler, he's been a pro for a while. He just fought down in Texas. He's a stud. We just have a lot of good talent in there. We have some of the OGs, if you would put it, that come in and train with us from time to time, or whenever we're getting ready for fights, they'll pop in out of shape and they're ready to go. It's just a great talented team that I'm grateful to be a part of, for sure.
Another person, because I'm afraid that we're gonna leave somebody out, but
Right.
I want to give Travis Keane. He's also competed a little bit. He's helped me out tremendously with my ground game and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. Give Phil Schreiber a shout out. I don't know if he's competing anymore, but he's one of those guys that'll brush off the shorts and come in and give us some rounds. God, are we anybody else, Jared?
We got Trey.
Trey Mooneyham, exactly. Head kicks from heck, I guess I'll say that.
Yeah, we got some new guys that came in and have been consistent.
Connor White.
They're gonna give it their go. Yeah, I mean, just constantly making progress as a team. Some come and some go, and it's just a great team, great atmosphere.
Yeah.
So how does the training all work? Because obviously everybody has their own different styles and stuff. So it's not like your normal execution of sports where it's like, okay, we're gonna work on this or that, or is it like that where you're trying to teach all different styles to all the different fighters, and then just whoever is the best at it is the one that kind of leads the way, or how does the training work?
No, Austin always leads the way and builds our plan. So Mondays and Wednesdays we striking, which consists of all our stand-up fighting, punching, kicking, all that fun stuff. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays is no-gi jiu-jitsu. So it's specifically ground fighting, wrestling, all that stuff. And then, Fridays we have an open mat as well, for some of us fighters to get in there and do work. But it's all Austin always has everything planned out for us, and we just go with the flow and learn what he's teaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's the chances of coming in and watching a practice? Is that something that might, to get some people that might want to get included? Is it kind of an open time for people to come in and watch?
Oh yeah, watch, participate.
definitely open. Hopefully you're talking about yourself participating, Robert. I want to see you
Yep.
in there. We'll get you in there.
I got a few more pounds to work off, but
Hey, it's a good way to do it, I think. And
It's the
listen,
best workout. It's the best workout out there.
every time we bring on guests, we always have to talk about stretch goals for the Facebook page and how many page follows. I mean, it took 500 for us to get destroyed by Kai Fong in a tennis match. How many Facebook follows did these two need to earn us to get you in that octagon with one of them just for 2 minutes?
Yes. That's
Oh
what
man, listen, I went through a training with John Morbeck, and I don't know if you guys know John Morbeck,
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
SRO for Clarkson. I was very sore after a night of just defense skills with him.
Don't deflect the question. How
Yeah,
many
exactly.
followers do we need?
I like where this is headed.
It's good. It'd be a little rough, I think.
Also, why I always nominate Robert for all of it.
I did want to give a quick shout out to Sandra Mullen. She also helps me with boxing, so just to give her a shameless plug.
Absolutely.
So we talked a little bit about training. You guys all together all of the time, or is there times that most of you can't or can meet? Or I mean, how flexible are the guys to work out those same times?
Well, you have the consistent ones that are there every day, like Brian. As far as training partners go, like heavyweights are very far in between. So I get a lot of rounds in with, say Brian and Dimitri and Austin, and
he has to hold back.
Those guys are crazy. They run circles around you. I'm too big for the way they move, but it's fun. Keeps me fast.
Now, guys, I don't know if you can see this, but Randy did do a little LFW, some backyard wrestling.
Like that.
So,
for one, it's fake. For two, that's 15 years ago. And I've gained like twice my body weight since then. So
I think it correlates.
So both of you, I mean, how long have both of you been fighting? We know, Brian, you said about 3 years fighting. Jared, how long have you been fighting now?
I think about 4 years, maybe. I think a little bit longer than Brian.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And my intention was never to fight. I went in there just to kind of prove to Austin that I could hang in the gym, which I could not, to be 100% honest. I walked in there and didn't know a cross from a hook. I didn't know any of that stuff. But it's been 3 years. I'd say a year and a half was kind of just me enjoying the art. And then over the past year, be like, if I'm going to get punched in the face, I might as well try to do it in the ring as well. So 3 years, some off time, and then now starting to take it serious, probably like a year and a half.
So how many fights has that then?
My first fight
have you had?
I've only had that one last May. I was supposed to fight like right before COVID started. That was supposed to be my first fight. Then it got delayed, had to wait. And so now I'm only one in, and I've got 2 coming up, 2 in the works.
2 in the works.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Jared, I'm going to turn it over to you. And as the sun is setting behind you, we see you sitting in your car, the sun is setting. We're going to let you got some big news coming out, sir.
Yeah. So this will be my first fight since May. Austin decided to get me to go pro.
Yes,
so
sir.
I will be fighting at a higher level, which I'm excited about. I signed my first contract a couple weeks ago. So I'm ready to go in and get the job done and continue what I've been doing. And so far, I've remained undefeated. I won the heavyweight title like 2 years ago, and I defended it. And I'm just ready to. I just get better and better each time I get in there. So I think I got a tough opponent ahead of me, and I'm just ready to go in there and showcase my skills and put on a show for all you guys, and put it on for the Lewis and Clark Valley.
That's awesome.
So that fight is it going to be here local? Is it going to be, because I know we've looked at, they bring in all kinds of fights to Spokane, to Worley every once in a while out here at the casino. What does it look like, and when is that?
Yeah, so April 23rd out here at the Clearwater Casino. It's our home show. Austin's taking it over. His dad used to put it on before, and it was actually my first show that I ever competed in. So it's an honor to make my pro debut here at home. And yeah, super excited. April 23rd.
Yeah, definitely have to come check that out. Before we let you both go, we usually ask a bunch of goofy questions, and we didn't have them. But I got a couple ones that I just had off the top of my dome. I have to know, as an old school backyard wrestler and a fan of professional wrestling, the entrance music is important for a pro wrestler. I think it's the same for an MMA fighter. So what are we coming out to when we come out to the octagon?
Oh man, it's been a little all over the place. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see this time. I haven't picked one yet, but
that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick to my first song. It was Nipsey Hustle and Motivate. In my track career, I was a little superstitious, so I'm gonna stick to it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Might I suggest High Hopes from Frank Sinatra that Rocky Balboa came out to in that movie? Just to mess with your opponent. It would be great.
I'll think about it.
Nice.
Oh, well, gentlemen, pleasure having you guys on tonight. And let's, Brian, really quick, your next fight is in March, right?
Yes, I've got a fight March 18th up at Northern Quest Casino in Spokane. And then I will be fighting back down here on the same card, opening up for Jared April 23rd at the Clearwater River Casino.
Let's go.
Yes,
so
sir.
March 18th, that is, Randy, that is the week after districts is over for basketball. So we might have to make a road trip up to go and watch. But how can people get tickets to the one on April 23rd to see both of you guys compete?
Tickets West. Yeah, there's links all over the posters. I believe through the casino, but Tickets West, as far as I know.
Awesome, guys. We appreciate you coming on. This is Brian McElroy, Jared Fisher. Thanks for joining us tonight and chatting and taking time out. We know you guys are getting ready to go and have a little practice here at 7:00. So
yeah, thank you for having us.
Don't worry, we'll end the show fast enough for Robert to get up there. So.
We'll wait for you.
Right. Thanks,
I bet you will. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, that was Brian and Jared. Dude, Brian is so funny. You watch him run around the gym at the high school, and he's just all over the place. So full of energy all the time. So I'd be excited. I'm excited to go get my tickets already for the bout and go out there.
Yeah, it's always fun to talk to fighters, and then you see them having a good time and joking around, and then the difference they are as they're walking into the cage or during a fight. It's a switch that those guys are able to just pull off, and it's fantastic to see. And I'm very, very excited that Jared is now going pro, and we get to see that in April, and Brian's got a couple fights as well. So what's going on here at the LC Valley? And again, first time we've had a fighter on here on the R&R Sports Report. So very, very excited for that as well. And thank them for their time as well. And very excited to see how these next couple months go for them.
I think you were excited to try to get me killed by going up there.
Hey, that's my job. That is my job, is to try to get you in harm's way as much as possible. And this is what happens. If you would have just brought on a normal, like a bowler like me, then you're safe. But you bring on fighters. I'm going to try to get you in every event that we talk about. We brought in track and field guys, and I try to get you in a race. It's the same thing.
I think I've got it too, Haven. Haven thinks I can go against. I don't know, man. Going against Jared, I've met that guy. I mean, he's a big dude. And then
like I said, we're getting close to 600. We need to figure out how to get a poll on the Facebook page and all these different options that I have thrown your way. And maybe we let them decide which ones you got to do when we hit 600.
I think I would rather take my chances with Al and him and I taking you and Khalil on the
Right.
hoops, so it'll be a little interesting. As you could know, I tweeted out today on my Twitter account and was like, all right, let's get Joel on, get Gino on, but he was a busy boy today.
He was very, very busy. He was very busy this weekend and very excited to watch a lot of golf this weekend just because Joel was in contention. There's a lot of sports going on. One that was pointless to watch, and luckily I didn't have to. But Joel does finish in the top 10 at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. What he finished? Tied for 6th overall, won nearly 300,000. Had a great 2 middle rounds, 64 in round 2, 66 in round 3. And then jumped out, was 3 under through the first 6, was in the lead at one point. And he does struggle a bit, fall down the leaderboard. It was a very tough course, as you saw a lot of the leaders other than, who won it?
Hoagie.
Hoagie won it. He went on a roll, but everyone else, you would just see them kind of move up and down the leaderboard. And I mean, even with Damon having a few bogeys there in the early part of the back 9, was hanging in there and has a great birdie to finish off to nearly finish top 5. But it was just cool to see, and he got a lot of airtime too.
Yeah, and even you look, he got paired up with Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth had made a 11-stroke run and came back from being 11 down to have his name up there, tied with Joel for a little bit, and then he did the same thing. He had an errant putt and then hit one into the trees on 18. So I mean, anything can happen, especially Pebble Beach, especially that back 9.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a great golfer and I can critique Joel. Anybody that's golfed with me knows that's exactly not the case. But I just thought Joel was just slightly off from my super amateur view. From he could have ran away with that tournament if just a couple breaks went his way. Excuse me. A lot of times you see him hit the green and it could end up being a good putt instead of it rolls off and makes it a difficult chip. Though watching Joel is always fun on TV because you know exactly what kind of shot it's going to be the moment he swings. He'll let you know. There's a lot of times where he would just get mad at himself and then you're like, oh, that looked good. And it would just be a foot off the green, but he knew the whole way.
And look, and for me watching this over the last couple of days, and I did see, I had people posting on my Facebook page and stuff about, Joel not getting any airtime on Saturday when he made the big move Saturday to get himself in contention. He played really good, no airtime. But then on Sunday, he gets the airtime. But I think what was the cooler part, and maybe it's just because we've had the relationship with Gino on, but it was so cool to have him. He was almost like he was mic'd up. You could hear the conversations they were having between the two guys. Nance was even talking about, having the few minutes that he got to talk with Gino. I mean, it's a duo thing with those guys, and I'm enjoying it. I love watching them play this weekend, especially on Sunday, even though, he struggled on the backside, but it was just fun. And you were 100% right. He tells you what kind of shot it was after he hits it. So, and he did say on Saturday, this was he was getting ready to play his favorite course of the program, and just the course won that day.
Yeah, for sure. And as somebody that will only ever play on that course on a video game, it was always a fun course to play on the video game too.
I even said that last night while we were sitting there bowling. I was like, that was always my favorite course to play on the video game.
But honestly, as somebody that watches golf off and on, like I'll watch all the majors and I'll watch on a Sunday or something. I'll flip over and see how things are going. I want to see more of what we saw with a little bit of Joel and Gino there, and just see more of those conversations. Even with NASCAR, which there's a sport that I watch more of, where they're getting more and more of letting you listen into the spotters or listening in to a pit crew kind of work through a decision. And I think that's the interesting part, because there's so much downtime for a viewer when it comes to golf as far as between these shots. So being able to kind of get an inside look at what a caddy and golfer kind of go through, especially on an approach shot, I think would be really interesting to see a lot more. And and Gino and Joel were kind of the perfect two for the little bit that we got to see on that tournament for sure.
It's the same with Michael Geller and Jordan Spieth. I mean, both of those guys. You hear Jordan talk about all of his shots and Greller is just as involved with his stuff as Gino is with Damon. So you're 100% right. I mean, I love the idea of seeing these guys talk things out a little bit more than what, Woods and Fluffy used to do. I mean, you don't see it near as much.
Now, I will say, full disclosure, I do work for the Lewiston Tribune. It's my sports editor that wrote the article because we don't have a Monday paper anymore, so it was for online only. Of what Joel did this weekend. I will say right now that I don't fully agree with Don's use of wordage in that opening paragraph, but I do think that it was not him trying to bash on Joel and saying, oh, he was disappointing for finishing tied for sixth. It was a weird choice of wordage of who disappointed who most, the course or Joel. I'm not a big fan of that sentence, but that's Don. Don is the ultimate pessimist that I've ever met, and that's just kind of the way he words things. He's getting a lot of flack on Facebook. Some, again, I think credited based off of that one sentence, but again, most of the people that were commenting only read that one paragraph and didn't read the whole article. Though I do say I like Gino's addition that he put on there. I even messaged him. He's not responded back because he's a busy dude. But I joked with Gino that the one thing I was missing on his edition was that he needed to add in there, and Gino gave him the right club sometimes because that's their thing. But it's one of those things where do you stand on that? Where it's the local guy. It's the local guy does good. He does a fantastic performance, and obviously the way we look at it, it's a top 10 performance in a PGA event, a big PGA event, but a lot of the comments were, how dare you criticize the local boy? It's like, what? Just because he's local, we can't criticize him? Again, I don't feel like Don really was, nor was it credited if he did at that point. But if Joel does make a mistake, are we not supposed to talk about it just because he's from here?
No, I mean, you have to dive into it a little bit, and it wasn't him making huge mistakes. I mean, the course just got the little bit better of him. At one point they were talking about how the wind gusts, and at one point they thought the gust was coming across almost 20 miles an hour at one point. So I mean, it's a team sport with these two guys, and they're making adjustments, but they don't stay in the same area every week. I mean, they're going from course to course to course, and one time it's going to play different than another. So, that's part of being an athlete is you're going to get criticized, and people are going to hate one thing about you compared to another thing. And so, I don't think it's going to really hurt him. I mean, I know Joel knows he's got such a great following.
Oh, and honestly, people. I think Joel strives on that stuff.
And
he tweeted out the other day that somebody had gotten mad at him because they bet on him to score a higher than what he did, or whatever, like an over under for his round, and he performed better than that. And he's like, yeah, this is a great thing to wake up to. And then he's going to go out there and do even better. So again, it's when I feel like has blown up a little bit more than I think anyone really expected. But again, that's the way Don is, and that's the way Don always will be. I joked with him that I had our headline or our front page article with me hitting my 300 on Sunday, and all I got back was, it's about time you did something. So I mean, that's just Don. So but again, it was interesting to read today, and it being the one thing on that Facebook page that kind of blew up.
I think it'll be more interesting to see if there's a rebuttal article tomorrow. I know you're getting ready.
He doesn't work tomorrow. He doesn't work tonight, so there definitely won't be tomorrow. And Don's not one to rebuttal. He's made a couple responses on the comments section, but he's not going to retract anything, right? By any means. All right, let's get into some football. And yes, Eric, yaha, Mr. 300, thank you so much. But yes, we will be talking about one thing that happened on a football field on Sunday, and it will not be the Pro Bowl. We will get to it next hour for sure. But it is Super Bowl week. And before we get into all the Super Bowl stuff, let's get into the NFL news real quick. And of course, we move our show from Tuesdays to Mondays for the month of February. And then the biggest news in the NFL cycle happens the day that we would have been on the air, and we could talk about this in a more timely manner. But Brian Flores has come out with some damning remarks and allegations to the NFL, not only for racism and hiring practices, but possible ownership trying to give rewards for losing. As fans, we always talk about tanking. As a Jets fan, I always talk about, no, we don't want to win this game. We want the higher draft pick. But now with ownership actually possibly showing that that's exactly what they're doing. We have two different ways we can go with this right now, Robert, but which way do you want to focus on first? And what do you think of the allegations?
Yeah, I think for me that stands out in all this is I think the NFL is wanting to have different ethnicity coaches taking over. But for me is how Hugh Jackson is in this whole realm of now. Yeah. This was happening, but there's nothing behind it. He says, I have all the evidence. I think for me, it's going to be more of what does Hugh have in his back pocket that he's wanting to get out in this whole scandal and all that. But, the other teams that they're saying, I believe it was New England was a team name that was getting thrown out besides Cleveland. But I think he's the wild card in this whole thing with Brian Flores.
It's going to be very interesting. The timing is confusing. While hirings were still going on and Brian Flores was in the middle of it. Of course, so one of the news stories we're going to get to is Levy Smith hired by Houston. And the Flores team comes out with a statement, and I'll just read it verbatim for you real quick. It says, Mr. Flores is happy to hear that the Texans have hired a black head coach, Levy Smith, as Mr. Flores' goal is to bring his case goal in bringing his case to provide real opportunities for black and minority candidates is to be considered for coaching and executive positions with the NFL. However, we would be remiss not to mention that Mr. Flores was one of the 3 finalists for the Texans head coach position. And after a great interview and mutual interest, it is obvious that the only reason Mr. Flores was not selected was his decision to stand up against racial inequality across the NFL. Yes, 100% yes. Brian Flores is the Colin Kaepernick of head coaches now. No, you stand 100%. Up against the man, whether you are right or wrong. And I do, if the allegations are correct, Brian Flores not only has all of the right to stand up and file this lawsuit, but I would stand up and applaud him if all of these allegations are correct. And it would not surprise me if they are all correct with what we have seen the NFL pull over the years. However, you stand up to the man. The man's not going to reach his hand out and shake your hand and offer you a job. So it's not surprising to me that Brian Flores was a finalist, came out with his lawsuit, and then all of a sudden, surprisingly, was no longer a finalist anymore.
Do you ever think he will become a finalist in any job after this?
I don't. I really don't. I think Brian Flores, if he ever wants to coach again, has got to go to college. Mm-hmm. And it's bad because I liked Brian Flores. I thought he was doing a fantastic job up there in Miami. Him being fired up there was, we said multiple times on this show, it was the most shocking thing we've seen as far as coaching, hiring, or firings or going on that we have seen in years. And then come to find out that, again, if allegations are right, the ownership was mad at him for not tanking games and winning too much. And then the battle between Tua, not Tua, or the fact that they want, again, according to his allegations, wanted him to try to talk to Tom Brady before he was allowed to and break those rules. It's a mess. Though I will say, on the side of tanking as a Jets fan, and we're used to tanking, if Mr. Flores would have tanked as the owner wanted him to, Joe Burrow would be a Miami Dolphin this year. Just saying.
Easily. Yeah, I don't see, and I kind of agree with you. I don't see now with all this going on, the ruckus that he makes. I don't see him even coaching this next year. But I'm like you. I think he takes a step down, finds a place in college, and tries to do it there. But I don't see. Like I said, I'm more interested to see what all this extra evidence is, and you know, but the timing that you hit on that. Is he trying to make a statement before Super Bowl saying, okay,
No, I
here's a
just think he
side.
was. I honestly, the timing wise, is I think he got that text from Bill Belichick and got completely fed up and said, "I don't care what time it is right now. I'm doing this." I don't think it was a strategic. After the season, I got fired. Okay, let's wait 3 weeks. Okay, it's that week of before the Pro Bowl, and it's an open spot, so let's do it now. I honestly think he thought he was going to have a chance with the Giants job until he got the text from Bill, and then it's like, well, I'll just go to this interview and see what kind of a sham it is, and it felt like the big sham, so he went, all right, we're doing this.
Yeah.
All right, the other big story, and Eric does bring it up, Alvin Kamara at the Pro Bowl.
You called
right.
it.
I was
You
right.
called it.
You cannot have the Pro Bowl in Las Vegas and not have a football player get in trouble. It's Saturday morning though, which is weird. And apparently there's an altercation in front of an elevator between Kamara and his crew and some dude in Vegas. Words were said. The video is showing like Kamara gets into it with a dude and they beat the holy crap out of him and then just leave him. And then instead of, not allowing Alvin Kamara to play in the Pro Bowl the next day, they wait to arrest him after the Pro Bowl. It's I don't know. Vegas.
After was it 4 catches for 28 yards or something like
How
that.
do you know that? Because nobody watches the Pro Bowl.
Now, just because I read the article, that's the only reason. It's kind of funny that you called it 100%. You cannot have something in a city that big and somebody not be that stupid to get himself in trouble. How do you think that affects now with the team and the new coach that's going to be there? I mean, what does that say for the team?
It's early enough that I don't think it affects them yet.
Yeah,
but
it'll be interesting.
Until they release the video and show like it's really, really horrible or something. Again, it's the same thing with the Ray Rice situation years ago, where it's like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, and then the video showed it, and you're like, oh yeah, he can't play again.
Yeah.
So if they release the video, we could be talking in a completely different light for sure. Talking about Levy Smith being with Houston, Mike McDaniel is going to Miami, and then just a couple hours ago, Dennis Allen gets promoted from the defensive coordinator to the head coaching job for New Orleans. Any of those three really stand out to you?
I was kind of interested in the Michael McDaniel one. I think that might be a spark for his career. I mean, he looks really good. I think that's the only one that really, for me, maybe the Brian DeBoll one is a good one, but I think the Mike McDaniel move for Miami is going to basically going to decide what is the future of Tua. I really think of what's going to happen. Do they design things around him, give him a little bit of chance to perform? If not, maybe he's gone again, and Mike rebuilds and does something different.
I love the signing in New Orleans with Dennis Allen. The defense in New Orleans over the last few years has been top notch. Like it kind of got overshadowed with the Drew Brees. Will he retire? Will he not? Brees and Kamara and Michael Thomas were always the big story there. But that defense has been fantastic for years, and you got to give credit to Dennis Allen for that. It's just now who can they bring in as an offensive coordinator to kind of rebuild that? Will they have Kamara there or not? Will Michael Thomas finally be healthy? There's a lot of questions, obviously, still in New Orleans, but having somebody from the inside, get promoted, I think is a great thing to see. And the one thing that we did not have on my list, I mean, it's on there, but I forgot that it was earlier this week. But Doug Peterson going to Jacksonville. I'd like to get Eric's thoughts on that signing. All I can do is laugh.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that signing. I hate it so much for
So
Jacksonville.
So Haven says he likes the Nathaniel Hackett to Denver. How do you think that affects things in Green Bay now that Nathaniel Hackett is no longer the offensive coordinator?
Who's really the offensive coordinator there? I would say it's LaFleur's running things, and then when he's not running things, Aaron Rodgers is running things. So Rodgers could move to Denver if he really liked Hackett. Maybe that is what Denver is preemptively doing. It's like, hey, we got your guy. Now let's try to figure out a trade for you as well. So it could work that way, but in the end, for Green Bay, it all comes down to if Aaron Rodgers comes back or not.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens up there. I think they need to rebuild part of that defense again after losing Von Miller. I'm hoping things get better, but an offensive mind there in Denver, I think, is going to help. Maybe get John Elway a little farther away from things happening on the field and let him just focus on running the business side of it.
And Eric does say, in a vacuum, Peterson's a good hire, but how we got there, I absolutely hate it. And Khan and his front office needs to be gone. 100% agree with that. Byron Leftwich would be the new head coach for Jacksonville. All he said was they need to get rid of the GM first, and they did not. And he went, all right, I'll just stay in Tampa Bay. So, it's a mess.
Well, and you saying that, there are two offensive coordinators that I really think, or actually three that should be hires, and I still don't understand why not. You still got Bieniemy, who has been very, very talented. You said Byron Leftwich. He has proven himself over the last couple of years. He should be coaching. And the other one, and it's not because he is somewhat local, but Kellen Moore. I mean, Kellen Moore was a finalist in a couple of those jobs too that, just falls a little short. Do we see any of those guys in the next, say, 2 to 3 years?
You'd think so. Maybe not Bieniemy anymore. I'm kind of losing faith that he'll ever get his chance. Unless he takes over when Andy Reid retires.
That would be the next statement I would think. How many more years does Andy Reid have in Kansas City? So, or if not, how many more years does Bill Belichick have up in New England?
All right, let's get into it. Let's get into the Super Bowl, sir. It is on Sunday. Do you care about media day tomorrow?
For me, it depends on who you want to talk to, and I'm excited to kind of listen. I always like to listen to the clips. So, like right now, the one that keeps circling around is a kid asking a question to Tom Brady. Last year, who his hero was. That clip is going around right now. I want these. I want to meet the players. I want to be real. Who some of them are. So yeah, kind of. I'll probably watch a little bit of it tomorrow night after basketball's over at the high school and come home and reflect on it. But I don't miss sitting in front of the TV for 6 hours. Watching the entire thing. So. Yeah. Who would be the most intriguing person that you would? Who would you want to interview if you had to start and you were the reporter?
The backup right guard. Somebody that just does not get enough airtime ever. Go ask them some of the silly questions. I'd be the one that goes off, like everyone's surrounding the quarterback and stuff. Let me go find, the fourth wide receiver on one of these teams and then have a chat with them and see if we can get any dirt of, no, I should be ahead of Odell Beckham Jr.
And you
or
saying
Jamar
that
Chase isn't that good, or.
And you saying that, so one of the guys farther down is CJ for Cincinnati.
Yes.
His comments. Yeah,
Eric
the long snapper.
Give me the long snapper.
But CJ saying that he plans on playing. It's the biggest game of his career, even though with the sprain. Do you think he actually plays?
I hope so. Obviously, it'll help Cincinnati if he does. And you don't want how many chances you get how many chances you get to play in the Super Bowl. And I think at this point, hey, you got months off. If you really want to push it, go for it. You may never get this opportunity again. But let's get into the game, and we're going to
Okay.
start with our prop bets first, and then we will break down some stats that I found and do our predictions. But the prop bets are always fun, especially around the Super Bowl, because they start asking some of the dumbest questions. I went around, found some of them, some game related, some not game related. But that's the fun of prop bets. We have 10 of them, and we will try to figure out which ones won and let you know who wins next Monday. But let's start with the national anthem. Mickey Guyton, I don't even know who that is singing the national anthem. And the old reliable over under 98 seconds for the national anthem, Robert.
I'm going to take the under. The only reason I did a little research on it, the last time she did a national anthem, she was right about a minute and a half. So I'm going to take the under just a little bit.
I'm going to take the under as well. But if her normal average is around 90 seconds, you get into that national or the Super Bowl section, you might try to stretch it. But I'll say under as well. And then the other old faithful, as far as prop bet goes, heads or tails, sir?
I'm always a tails guy. Give me tails. Every time a coin flip happens, give me tails.
I'll take heads just to be opposite. Just it's 50-50. All right. What is the first score? Field goal, touchdown, or other?
I think it's touchdown. It's going to be kind of depends on who gets it, but it's going to either be Jamar Chase or it's going to be Cooper Kupp. It's going to be a pass.
Do you think that the opening drive ends in a touchdown? It's not one of our prop bets, but
I think so. I think somebody comes out and sets the tempo right away.
Eric saying over for the national anthem. I'm gonna say no. I think we get a little slow starting, some nerves going in from all these teams that have no Super Bowl experience. I'm gonna say field goal gets it. Field goal kickers were a bit of a story here between these two teams, so I'll give it to a field goal here. Will there be a scoreless quarter?
I don't think so. I think both of these offenses thrive on scoring and moving the ball. So I don't think we even had any of the games in the divisional round. I don't even think
you can make some good money if you pick safety and you get it right.
Let me tell you, Corey is a Seattle Seahawks fan. Did you have that when Peyton Manning had the missed the snap? I wonder if he actually made money on that time.
Yeah, we had a couple years in a row where there was a safety. Was it the second Patriots-Giants game? There was a safety. I don't think it was the first score, but I just know as far as the squares and stuff, it really messed up numbers for sure. I'm going to say no as well for the scoreless quarter, but this one was the most difficult one for me that isn't just a straight up guess, because I could definitely see some stretches of no scoring between the two, but I'll say every quarter has at least a point. All right. Will the total score be odd or even?
I'm just going to tell you odd. I'll give you the points when we get to our prediction here in a few minutes, but mine works out to an odd number.
There you go. I'll say even just to be different. All right, let's go to the halftime show. I know Robert's super excited to watch this halftime show. And I found a lot of prop bets for this halftime show, and I picked the one that I found that made me chuckle the most. There was a lot of how many songs will each person sing, which song will be the first one up there, which performer will be the first one on stage. Those aren't fun. The question that everyone has to ask, will Snoop Dogg smoke while he's on the stage?
And I put probably. Depends on if Martha Stewart follows him out there, Probably not.
Oh, could we get a Martha Stewart cameo? That would be great. I need a yes or no, sir.
Yes, he probably will.
As much as I'm going to say no, but I'm sure he's tempted. I'm sure there will be a lot of smoke around Snoop Dogg, but will he actually take a drag off or something? I don't see it happening. All right, get into the commercials here, and it's one we did last time. I would bet yes, just because, for sure. It's one we did last year as well, as far as the commercials go.
I hated this one.
Huh?
I hated this one. I lost bad.
Yeah, you did. And you're going to lose again because you did the exact same mistake. How many commercials will have a dog in them? The over-under is set at 6.5.
I took the under again. I don't see that many dogs out there.
You went under last year, and I think I had you beat by halftime.
I think you're right too.
So I'm taking the over for sure. All right, back to the game. Will a touchdown be overturned by replay? Yes or no?
I don't think so. I think these guys are going to play quite well. I think most all of the scores are not going to be rushing scores. I think they're going to be legitimate through the end zone, caught TD passes in. So I'm all about the receivers this year. I think I'm excited to watch Jamar Chase. I'm excited to watch Cooper Kupp, OBJ. So I'm going to take no that there isn't going to be a overturned one.
I'm going to say no as well, just because I don't want controversy for this thing. I want a good, clean Super Bowl, please, between two good teams.
Mhm.
So I will say no. Which quarterback will have more passing yards in the game, Joe Burrow or Matthew Stafford?
You know, I think it's a coin flip. I will share here in a few minutes one that I saw when we do our predictions. But I think Matthew Stafford has just a couple more weapons. I think he throws the ball to OBJ a little bit more. I think he throws it to Cooper Kupp. I really think Kupp will have at least 8 receptions of 140 yards.
There you go. I'm going to say Joe Burrow. I will get to my reasonings why when we get to the predictions. And the final one, what is the color of the Gatorade shower?
I typed mine 3 different times. I said blue one time, and then I said red one time, but then I went back to the old standby. Give me the old good orange Gatorade.
And I'm going to take the blue Gatorade, which almost makes me feel like we just gave away our Super Bowl picks. One team's orange, one team's blue. We will see.
We will see.
All right. Those are our 10 prop bets. Follow along with us. Make your own picks. Eric and Corey have been answering a couple of them along the way, but see how you do. And again, if you're really bored this week, there are thousands of prop bets out there that you can get involved with. And just have fun with your friends. You don't have to go try to figure out how to spend money on these things. Just make goofy bets with your friends. That's the fun part of the Super Bowl. All right, let's get into it. Second straight season that the host team has reached the Super Bowl after it never happening before. So congratulations to the Arizona Cardinals for reaching next year's Super Bowl.
How about the post of the NFL memes? And I know both you and I follow the NFL memes. How about the post about the won't ever have to worry about having it in Dallas anymore?
Right. And Eric says a point of viewer will most likely bring back the Big 20. It was something that the Kickoff did on W2M Network where we did 20 prop bets. And I've been involved in that as well. Also, go check out Point of Viewer. It's Eric just ranting and getting into weird conversations with a couple guests. And they have made the mistake. In the month of March, they started a game show podcast last year. And they had me come up with a bracket of best game shows. They all hated me when we got done doing this bracket. So much so that I am now known as Rancid Randy on W2M Network chat rooms. Eric has asked me at least, and it's already done. I've built it. They wanted me to create a smaller bracket, but it's impossible for this topic. So I've created a bracket for them that they will be doing in March for the best sports movies of all time.
I already win. I know who the best sports movie is.
The bracket is set. The matchups are in place, and the cussing will commence in less than a month. So
I'm excited. I'm excited to watch that one. So
it's my favorite time of just getting yelled at for a month. I don't do a lot of stuff with W2M anymore right now, but coming back to get yelled at by Eric and Harry and the guys, it's going to be fun. March 13th. There you go. Target start. There will be inebriation for sure. Cincinnati was a 125-1 underdog to win the Super Bowl when the season started. Do you know the only team that had worse odds than Cincinnati coming into the year?
Probably Jacksonville.
No, Houston.
Houston.
Jacksonville had better. Remember, everyone thought Urban Meyer was going to work. They all thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be this MVP candidate. Everyone was like, "Oh my God!" At worst, Jacksonville is going to be 8-8. But the Jets also, I believe, the Jets either had the same odds or even slightly better than Cincinnati. They're the second team to have a 100-1 or greater odd preseason ranking since the Rams back in 1999. They were 150-1 that year, and the Rams also won the Super Bowl that year. More betting fun for you. Underdogs of 3 points or more are 7-2 in the Super Bowl since 2007. Cincinnati is 7-0 against the spread and 6-1 straight up when they are the underdog of 3 or more points and Joe Burrow starts, and that's for this season. And with that said, sir, the favorite is the Rams. So the Bengals are the underdog, and I believe the last time I saw it was 4.5.
Still 4.5. Last I saw, I think it was over under was 48.5 for the over under.
So who do you got in the Super Bowl?
Oh man, so I've been tackling back and forth so much, and right now, it's 48.5 for the over under. I think it comes down to which quarterback comes out, throws the ball. I think defensively, how many times they get to Joe Burrow by Von Miller, Aaron Darnold. I put a little bit more lean on the defense for the Rams. Even with Jalen Ramsey and his off coverage that he plays. I don't know if Eric Weddle has been a big thing with them signing him, as he had retired and now comes back and plays in the playoffs. But, I'm excited. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals is kind of that team of the future. We talked about it. We weren't 100% on board of them doing it this year, but I like the youth of both ball clubs. But I'm going to lean to the better receiving core and to the veteran quarterback and the home field advantage. Give me the Los Angeles Rams. Cooper Kupp has a spectacular day, and the Rams win 27-24.
So my prop bet earlier, saying Joe Burrow was going to have more passing yards than Matthew Stafford, is the fact that I think the Rams are going to jump out early in this game. They're going to have a bit of a lead. Joe Burrow's going to have issues with that pass rush of the Rams. He's going to get sacked a few times. He could be super elusive like he was with Kansas City and not get sacked as many times as he was against the Titans. But I do think the Rams will have the lead. I do see the Bengals making a run like they have in the last 2 weeks against the Titans and the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to get blown out by any means, but I do think they will be playing from behind most of this game. But in the end, I am with you. I do think the Los Angeles Rams are going to win, but I don't think they cover. I'm with you there as well. I had a conversation with somebody else earlier. It's like, well, if I have to take a bet, I'm taking whatever team you give me more than 3 points in, because the underdogs have basically dominated this playoffs. And then some of those stats show it as well. But I will also take the Rams to win the Super Bowl.
So where everybody loves the gaming side of it and all that. The Madden Predictor Simulator came out today and all of that. And they have Cincinnati winning this one, but it's been like the divisional round and the other. They have a game-winning 49-yard field goal by Evan McPherson, and the Cincinnati Bengals win 24-21. So we're opposite of what's happening on Madden.
Wow, Madden's been bad for a long, long time. So I'm okay with that. Let's get into some college basketball. And as I opened up the scores for college basketball, perfect timing here, as Virginia has just hit a 3 with under a second to go to take a 69-68 lead over number 7 Duke. So we could have an upset here just in a second between the two. But I got to ask you, while I wait for this game to finish, and we'll get into the rankings and some of the scores. Have you been into? I mean, we haven't talked about college basketball for the last couple of months, other than LC. Have you been into college basketball, or are you like me that once the Super Bowl ends, that's when college basketball season truly begins for you.
Yeah, I think 100%. I agree with you there because after Super Bowl's all done, then I focus. Yeah, we're watching Gonzaga a little bit and watching a little bit of the big schools playing a little bit. I was very, into Coach K, him playing his last game at there at Chapel Hill this last weekend. So that one was a little intriguing. And watching how up and down over the last month, though, some of these teams are. I didn't realize Auburn had soared up to the top. They had a rough game, almost lost to Georgia this weekend. But still shocking that right now that Auburn is number one, especially with Gonzaga there. Arizona, I think that's going to be a big matchup this week. Arizona comes up to WSU, and so it will be interesting. But yeah, 100%. After the Super Bowl's done, then I'm both feet in.
And Virginia does hold on to defeat Duke, so a nice road victory for the Cavaliers. Looking at the rest of the scoreboard, not a ton happening as far as like the top 25 goes on the men's side. Arizona going underway with Arizona State, and Arizona State has scored the first 9 points against number 4 Arizona so far. We'll keep an eye on that. And then the main event, which is about to get started, number 8 Kansas will go up against number 20 Texas. So a couple good games right now in college basketball. But yeah, as once football gets done, and then you start thinking about bracket time, and I have to watch enough to have a slightly educated guess for my brackets come mid-March. And also, conference games are far more enjoyable for me than your typical games in November, where teams are still trying to figure out exactly who they are, and the upsets feel better and they feel more important. Like this Virginia win feels way more important, and if they would have done that against, say, a Gonzaga, having it be a rivalry game there works as well. And then the conference tournaments are always fantastic. So it's almost time for me to really dive in to college basketball. Your top 5 right now on the men's side: Auburn 1, Gonzaga 2, Purdue 3, Arizona 4, and Kentucky 5. As far as the local teams go, WSU has won 5 straight. They're now 14-7 on the year, 7-3 in conference, which puts them 4th in the Pac-12 right now, outside of Leonardi's bracketology, but still a ways to go. Do you think the Cougars make the tournament?
There's a chance, but it's going to be a slim chance. I think it depends on what Arizona does over the next couple of weeks, what UCLA does. So slim right now, I would say maybe 10%.
Now, honestly, with college basketball, I mean, yes, the RPI is a thing and strength of schedule is a thing. So other teams and how they perform will affect some of your statistics, but I don't think it's like college football where you have to jump the rankings to get in. I think they need to go out and win a bunch more of their games to get in. And they, like you said, they have the Arizona game in a few days, but they have a tough stretch. Here, I'm looking at their schedule right now from February 14th to February 26th. 4 games on the road: Oregon, number 12 UCLA, number 21 USC, and then Washington. With those 4 games, how many do you think they would have to win to really bump up their stock?
I think they've got to win almost all of them, but I don't see that. I don't see that happening. I think that it's gonna fall down, and I don't think very slim of getting there.
Yeah, I think they got to win 2. If they win 2, they might bump their stocks up a little bit, and that's a tough task. Other local teams that are not faring as well: Eastern Washington right now 11-12 on the year, 5-7 in the Big Sky, which puts them in 7th. And Idaho has definitely struggled this year, 5-17 on the year, 2-10 in conference, and 10th in the Big Sky. Robert, have you went and seen the Idaho's new arena yet?
I have not, and kind of bummed me out tonight because we shifted our schedule around to because we have basketball the next couple of nights and all that. Tonight was a home game for the girls. I was looking forward to going up and watching Ashlyn Wallace playing up there as the Idaho girls are taking on Montana State. And right now, 4 minutes left to go in the first. Idaho leads by 3, but I was hoping to go up and watch her play, but our schedules have just looked so crazy.
Yeah,
especially the next week for both of us as districts start up for the boys on the Lewiston side. We've got district
girls
starting
are going on right now.
Yeah, and we've got district going on starting next week for the Washington side. So it'll be busy few weeks for us.
For sure. Speaking of the ladies on the college side, your number 1 team, South Carolina, 21-1 on the year. They have all 30 votes in the coaches poll. Stanford is number 2, Louisville number 3, Michigan number 4, and NC State is number 5. And that Wolfpack did defeat number 11, Georgia Tech tonight, 59-48. Number 14, LSU went on the road, defeat Ole Miss, 68-64. And number 21, Ohio State defeated Rutgers at home, 61-57. Looking at some of your local teams, and Gonzaga is 17-5 on the year, 8-1 in conference. That puts them second in the West Coast Conference behind BYU. Right now on ESPN's bracketology, they are an 11 seed, so hanging in there right now as a bubble team to watch. Also, Washington State's ladies are 14-7 on the year, 6-4 in conference, which is 4th in the Pac-12. And right now on ESPN's bracketology, they're one of the last 4 in.
Mm-hmm.
So what do those 2 teams have to do here in the last month to make sure they get a secure spot in the tournament?
I think Gonzaga's got to win at least 3 out of their 4 that they have remaining just to get in there and make.
Well, they got way more than 4 games left.
I thought it's 4. I thought it was 4.
There's way more than 4.
Is it
They're
more
fourth
4?
in they're 4th in the Pac-12.
Yeah,
I think way more than 4 games left.
So I think that they can make a push. They've played decent in the highlights that I've seen them play. So it'll be interesting, But the big thing is these girls on the West Coast don't get a lot of love. I mean, there's not a lot of people knowing what's going on in the Pac-12 and even the WCC. So I'd be interesting to see.
WCC, I would agree with. When you have Arizona and Stanford, it's tough to ignore the ladies in the Pac-12. But to be fair, and we are guilty of it too, the ladies kind of get shafted when it comes to college basketball, and they don't get a ton of love, especially when it comes to bracket time. Because let's be honest, everyone fills out a bracket for the men. How many of you fill out a bracket for the women? We did last year.
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that was the first one I'd done in many, many years. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes.
Also, Idaho is 5-13 on the year, 4-5 in the Big Sky. Puts them 7th, and Eastern Washington is 4-16 on the year, 2-9 in conference, which puts them in 12th. So, any chance of Ashlyn Wallace making the tournament, you got to win the Big Sky tournament here in a few weeks for sure.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
All right, let's get into some local sports and go to LCSC, where baseball is completely ramped up. They even had their opening home games yesterday. I was a little busy and wasn't able to make them. But the Warriors do sweep the 2 games against Whitman. They won 10-0 and 14-4. Both of those games only going 7 innings due to the 10-run rule in the NAIA. They are now 8-1 on the season. And now they will play 3 games against Whitworth this weekend, also at Harris Field, Saturday at noon and 3 p.m., and then Sunday at 3 p.m., which that's a hard sell, I think, on Sunday. Super Bowl, early college baseball in the cold weather. That's a tough sell. And I'm sure Alicia is doing her best to sell, but that's a tough one. On the basketball side, listen, the women are on fire right now, as they are now 20-3 on the year, 14-3 in conference. They defeat College of Idaho 75-48, and then Eastern Oregon 71-67, and that was the game you were at.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable game to watch those guys come out and play. Callie Stevens, oh my God, had probably the best game that I've seen a college player have. She just come out, controlled the tempo. The other one was Sarah, a friend of the show, Sarah Mulhausen. She looked phenomenal in the paint, and they just controlled things there in that one. They got Coach Brian Orr his 500th career win there at LC. So hats off to the girls.
I was just looking real quick. They haven't updated any rankings since the 26th of January, where LC was 22nd. I'm curious where the next polls will have. The Warriors is, again, they're on such a great run. It's really frustrating for them to have those 2 forfeits in there to make it look like the season's not being as special as it currently is. They're 20-1 when they take the floor.
Yeah, they just show and ooze confidence. I mean, it wasn't packed like you and I have talked about getting LC packed, but the environment there on Saturday was phenomenal, and those girls were feeding on it. But we've had mad props for our Warrior teams that come in there. I watched, there was a couple of racers that sat behind me. But seeing that LC volleyball team down there supporting these other sports, it was crazy. And it was a good student section, not out like what we normally see at a high school level, but just the atmosphere the other day was unbelievable.
On the men's side, they do lose to number 10, College of Idaho, 82-48, but then they finally snapped that 4-game losing streak with a 65-55 win against Eastern Oregon, puts them at 16-9 on the year, 9-8 in conference. Not the season that they have wanted to see so far, but hopefully that win on Saturday kind of kicks things into gear for postseason, right?
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, they played physical. I mean, there was a lot of physical. The officials were letting them play. They were playing hard the entire time. It was crazy to watch some of the calls that they got away with. And actually, LC had no foul trouble. And so it was another exciting game to watch. And I have to say it was the atmosphere, I think, that really brought these guys playing. Khalil comes out very first possession, puts up a shot, hits a 3. I mean, it was a great start to the game, and they just stayed physical with this Oregon team.
Schedule's upcoming, and these are important games, especially on the men's side, as we're getting closer and closer to conference tournament play. And LC right now is in, but they don't have a ton of breathing room. The men and the women travel all together tomorrow. They'll be hosting Walla Walla. Women start at 5:30, men at 7:30 over there at the P1FCU Activity Center. And then this weekend they're on the road. Friday it's at Bushnell, and Saturday it's at Corbin. So keep your eyes peeled on lcwarriors.com and keep track of both basketball teams. See if the women can keep things rolling. And for the men, you almost feel like you have to go 3-0 to feel comfortable with your playoff standings. They should be able to take care of Walla Walla. Bushnell's a team, again, they should be able to handle. Corbin, though, right now 4th in the Cascade Conference. That should be a good one.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking forward to trying to see if I can get on and watch that one online. But it should be an easy go at it. I think 2-1 still kind of keeps you there, but I think if they can go 3-0 this week, they just increase their chances so much better.
Tennis is gotten rolling as well. The women picked up their first 2 wins of the year, defeated Whitworth 5-2, and defeated College of Idaho 7-0. They'll take on Whitman on Sunday at 4 p.m. And LCSC men's tennis got their season going with 3 matches down in Arizona last weekend. They do lose all 3 matches, but all of them by a score of 3-4. So good showing early on here by LC, as they have 2 matches on Friday against Whitman at 1 p.m. and Seattle at 6 p.m. and then against the Idaho Vandals on Saturday at 4 p.m. All 3 of those matches are at the LCSC Tennis Center, so go root on your local tennis teams as well. Let's get into it. Let's get into some high school sports, sir, and we'll start with your Bantams. How are they doing?
Yeah, the Clarkson Bantams had a couple of big games over the weekend. They were able to hold on and crush the Rogers Pirates there at home last Tuesday. They just manhandled. The bad part about it for the girls is they were missing three. Their three bigs, both Erica Pickett, Maggie Ogden, and Ava Griner out, weren't able to play, but all 9 Bantams scored. They had 4 girls in double digits, so it was great to see. Alyssa Weddle comes out, hits 3 big threes, and that one has 15 points. And then some of the underclassmen, you've got Lexi Villavicencio and Ryan Combs, who are freshmen that have double digits. So they looked really good. But they came up a little short on Friday, as I had traveled up to watch them and call the game for against West Valley. West Valley just kind of knew that Maggie was still out. Ava was still out. So we only had 1 big on the floor. They just kept dropping the ball down at the low block, and Madison Carr able to put up 18 points, 10 of which came in the second half. But the Bantams end up losing that one 57-51. It's going to boil down to those guys, I think, facing each other in the district finals. We'll see how things pan out, as this week we've got to get through this week first, as tomorrow night the Bantams do host in Pullman, and then on Wednesday it's going to be a makeup day where the Bantams will travel up, take on Rogers after the COVID stuff that Rogers went through. And I hate saying this, but hearing some scuttle that the East Valley game for the girls might be canceled due to East Valley not having enough girls to field the team. Right now, they only have 5 girls on the team, just based off of injuries and people hurt and so on. So there's a very strong possibility that the Clarkson Bantam varsity girls do not play on Friday. We'll keep you posted on that. As far as the boys' side, they were able to take care of Rogers. Just no doubt about it. Tough Tauble on senior night comes out and drops 23 points. He just led the way in that one. He is up for player of the week here locally, so on KLEW, and I think on the Tribune. So make sure you go and vote for him there. Again, no Conrad Dudley. He was out, so hopefully the Bantams get him back tomorrow. We're going to need him tomorrow as the Bantams take on Pullman. And then the Bantams came away with a big win. Just great play there at West Valley, and between Santana and Dawson Blunt hitting a big shot, 3-pointer to move the Bantams ahead with 17 seconds left in that one. And Xavier Santana gets a poke and the steal by Tough Tauble to beat the West Valley Eagles and hand them both of their losses this year come at the hand of the Bantams, and end up winning that one 64-61. Again, tomorrow night, the Bantams take on Pullman, which is going to be a big contest there. Happens at the Coop at Kramer Gym. Be there, and then they take on East Valley on Friday night, 7:00.
On the Lewiston side, the girls are in a must-win situation now after they lost to Coeur d'Alene in both of their meetings this week. Played in their senior night and lost that one on Tuesday, 48-35, and then had to travel up to Coeur d'Alene for the opening round of the district play and lost that one 61-41. They fought extremely hard up there in Coeur d'Alene against a very tough team. We're in it for a good quarter and a half before everything kind of slipped up. And what are you laughing about over there?
Yeah, my buddy, and you've met him a few times, Rick Smith, listening to the show right now on Facebook, and Rick is one of the coaches up there for Pullman. He's like, are you talking about the big showdown tomorrow night? Yes, we're talking about Pullman versus Clarkson.
There you go. So the girls do lose that one, 61-41. Very funny moment in that game I have to bring up. And watching it back on the clip, it doesn't look as bad as it did live. But Katie Wessels gets a rebound, defensive rebound, and is trying to create some space. And she gets called for throwing an elbow. And while calling the foul, the referee, makes the motion of throwing the elbow. but he did it right as a Coeur d'Alene student was walking by, and he hit him right in the chest. Now, on the video on NFHS, it doesn't look like he hit him that hard, but it was more of the shock of everything that it was like, whoa. It was like, so kind of stopped for a second, and he checked if he was okay. Of course he was. They laughed about it. But the great thing was, at least for Lewis and Faithful, they completely forgot that they called Katie Wessels for the foul. They gave Coeur d'Alene the ball, but never credited Wessels with a foul in the game, and she ended up with 4 fouls. So it was a very big moment for a game that kind of got away from the Bengals, but it was pretty comical at the time. Unfortunately, again, with that loss, the Bengals now have to win their next 3 games if they want to go to state. It starts tomorrow, as we will go up to Post Falls. I'll head up there as well and call the action on the river. Tip-off will be at 6:30. It's going to be a really tough test for Lewiston, though. They're 0-3 against Post Falls this season, including the finals of the Avista tournament. And that was the closest meeting of the 3, excuse me. Their last meeting, I think Post Falls won by 35. So we will see how that goes. For the boys, they lose a tough one to Coeur d'Alene, 68-62 on Tuesday, but a big one. It was so fun to call. Defeating Lake City, giving the Timberwolves their first loss of the year, 62-57. The Bengals were down by double digits multiple times in the second half. Huge 3 by Forsman late in that game. Jace McArcher had his best fourth quarter of the year. I want to say he finished with 9 points, but he also had several steals and a couple blocks in there as well. A couple good assists. For the boys, they have 3 home games left in the regular season, 2 of them this week. Wednesday against Lakeland and Friday against Moscow, both of those at 7. And then you look at Lapway. We got to bring them back up because Zach Eastman, 19-0 on the season, 13-0 in conference. They just crushed Genesee 93-34 on senior night. It's just the new game is not if Lapway is going to win. It's will they hit 100? And they failed to do so this week. But Cross Taylor with 28 points, Titus Year Out with 24. And the Lapway girls playing for the district championship up here in Lewiston on Thursday. They will be taking on Prairie at 7 o'clock. So you have nothing going on Thursday night. Go check out the Lapway girls, who are also having a fantastic season.
Yeah, 100%. We turn our attention a little bit here quickly to wrestling. Clarkson boys. Well, let's start with the Clarkson girls. Kayla Rice wrestled in Liberty and comes away with a 3rd place finish. Does qualify for regionals. So it'll happen this next weekend. Had a chance to text back and forth with Coach Thieveridge the last couple days, and he's excited for the next few days. Boys district, we had 7 guys that are going to qualify for regionals. A couple of first place wrestlers, Jordan and Jonah McCamey, come away with first place victories. Second place victories go to Gabe Wiesa, Dawson Bailey, Bodie Thieveridge. Lots of guys getting their number called, competing quite well. Carson Ash with a 3rd place finish, Braden Jarrett with a 4th place. So all these guys getting ready to head to regionals next weekend. So, if you got a chance to go and travel and watch them, you need to go and do that.
On the Lewiston side, they do lose to Coeur d'Alene on a duel on Saturday. It's their last duel of the season before their regional play starts. Hoyt Voss, Tristan Bremer, Asa McClure, and Robert Storm all picked up wins. So let's get into it now. We were going to get into the NASCAR stuff, but our guest is here early. I'm sure Robert told him the wrong time, but what?
I told him 6:30.
Yeah,
okay, we got to bring
here,
him,
and he's on time. So
that's
all
all that matters. That's all that matters. We're gonna bring him in here. Fat Tony, what's up, brother?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Having a good time.
Congratulations to you again. Another 800 series bowling, as Tony is one of our bowlers here in the Valley. Congratulations.
He can never do
Thank
it
you,
when he's
thank you.
bowling on my team.
No, I just leave it up to you.
Yeah.
Give it to you for the win for the AFC this weekend. So let you have your credit a little bit.
We were joking around about how I was wearing those crazy jet socks trying to distract the opponents. Unfortunately, it also distracted Tony throughout our season too. But
Yeah, you won't catch me in those for sure.
I have no shame. Look at my face. Do you think I'm worried about what people think about me?
Mm,
All right, let's
same
get
here.
into it. It's sports-related draft time, and I am on a roll. I've won 3 straight. possibly 4 straight, depending on who you ask about the college football coaches. We don't ask my 4-year-old because she likes Robert way more than she likes me. So, of course, I was going to lose that. But, Robert, it is your turn to come up with what our topic was. And we got a video again this week.
Yeah, another video again. Thank you to Dave Walk This Way Productions. We sat down and we actually did this one together really quick before our training. And so we did put that together. So this one has to boil down to, it is this week. It is Super Bowl time. It is time to look at the best commercials of Super Bowl of all time. I did not tell Tony what the thing was about. And so you gotta just watch them. So we're gonna watch them.
Before I'm just now curious. Before we even show you any of our picks, are we stopping after each round, Robert? Is that what we're doing?
I was planning on it. Yes.
Okay. So we'll go through each round, and then you can give us your takes on what we pick each round. But what are some of the Super Bowl commercials that really stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Clydesdales, obviously, Budweiser commercials.
Okay, hold on. Let me change my pick real quick.
Yeah, and then back in the day, the Bud Light bowl thing was going on. Just I don't remember what it was called, but probably the Clydesdales. It's the go-to. It's the go-to.
All right, let's see. Let's start with round number 1 there, Hagen.
All right, here we go. Round 1, and here we go.
You turn it up there, Hagen. I don't know if we can hear it anymore.
I mean, we all know this commercial anyways. We know what they're saying.
Absolutely. Fortunately, it's a little quiet, so we'll talk over it. Tony, what do you think of this commercial?
It is one of the epic commercials of all time. You got Mean Joe there, and the Hey Kid Catch. I mean, that's what it comes down to, and one of the kids' biggest dreams. So it's a good one. It's a good first pick.
Yeah, I definitely picked it. Obviously, it was one of the early Super Bowl commercials that really stood out. That it was created just for the Super Bowl, and it stood the test of time. And it's kind of been made up. Here's Robert's first pick, though. Robert, you can talk through this one since audio seems to be grumpy.
You have to bring up Betty White, especially with how things have transpired over the last few weeks. But this was one of her only commercials she ever did for the Super Bowl, and to see her in this role.
Robert, I don't know if it's Tony. Is it for you too? It's skipping all over the place for you?
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
I just figured it was my phone, but who knows?
No, it's having connection issues.
I think I'm only showing I have 1 bar right now, so that's probably
so go ahead and take the video down. We'll post this video on the Facebook page, but obviously always technical difficulties on the R&R Sports Report. But there you go. So I picked the Catch, the old classic Coca-Cola commercial back 1980, and then Robert goes Betty White and Snickers. So Robert, real quick, you get 10 seconds. To give your pitch for the first round.
Listen, for me, it's just a kind of a feel-good story of a lady that changed kind of the idea of what comedy was over the last little bit. And this was her big commercial. I love this commercial.
Stop it.
It is a great commercial.
It's a great commercial. You're making it sound like this made Betty White's career.
But he's trying to tug on the heartstrings, I mean, it's still new. The news is still new. I get where you're going with it. I mean, it is Betty White.
God, Robert's over here trying to say Betty White was this nice old lady that nobody knew until she made the Snickers commercial. Listen, mine, the OG is the commercial that I went, obviously, pull on your heartstrings. That's what that commercial does. And yes, Betty White's commercial was the best of those Snicker commercials, but there's 700 different varieties of them.
Right.
It's not that special. All right.
Listen, I already think I'm already gonna win with my third pick, so it's already
You
done.
picked the worst one. All right, let's get to round 2 because I'm going to win it with this one. And I do kind of wish that the video was working. You can check it out on the R&R Sports Report Facebook page tomorrow whenever Robert's able to post since the internet's not working out. But mine is the Volkswagen commercial back in 2012 called The Force. And if you can't remember this one, it's just little kid. The whole commercial, the first 2/3 of the commercial, you don't even know what the commercial's about. It's this kid
Okay.
trying to use the Force, and he's in the Darth Vader outfit, and he just can't get anything to work, and his mom is trying to play along, and while you can't see this kid's face, you can just see the disappointment on his through the mask the whole time with the body emotions. And then dad comes home in the Volkswagen, and the kid's trying to get the thing to start, and he does the whole touch start thing, which was new back in 2012, and it freaks the kid out, and he turns around and then loses his mind. Probably my funniest commercials I have seen at the Super Bowl.
That's a good one. I like that one. I remember. See, I think I like it better without the videos because then you guys have to give the descriptions and to
Right.
see if I even remember the commercials. That's how you can tell if you actually pick good commercials or not. If I can actually remember them.
Unfortunately, with Robert's pick, you will remember this commercial.
All right.
Probably one of the best ever matchup of basketball player against basketball player. Michael Jordan walks into the gym packing his Big Mac and fries, and he sits down. There's Larry Bird shooting baskets, trying to make baskets, practicing. And he says, "I'm going to play you for your Big Mac," and then the loser's got to sit the guy and watch. But some of the shots were just unbelievable. What they were doing, as you figure towards the very end, okay, you're banking it off this wall, through the air, over this rafter, nothing but net. And then in the commercial, you see the guys standing on top of the building across the way. What are they going to do? One of the best commercials McDonald's ever put out.
I agree. I like that one. I like that one as well. MJ and Larry, of course, they go on beyond years, so it's always going to live in infamy. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't another commercial with them too this year, to be honest with you. But we'll never know. But that was a close second round. I'll give you that.
So to give Robert credit, and with that commercial, how many of us then went out to the playground over the next few years and did that exact same scenario? Obviously not as crazy as Michael and Larry could do it, but the horse games got a lot more involved.
Yes, for sure. And especially now, I got to say this, with the COVID thing that's going on, all these TikToks of people doing crazy shots with like ping pong balls and stuff like that. The imagination is probably going to be run wild this year, would be my guess.
But to go against Robert, he never said which commercial was his favorite. Because if anybody remembers, and I only remember this because I went back and was watching a bunch of commercials to go for this draft, the showdown is in multiple parts. It's one of those where they showed it in the first quarter and the second quarter. So which commercial, Robert? Because each of those is a different commercial. Which one was your favorite?
I edited it. It's all together. You have to go the second part because that's where all the crazy shots started happening. But the
other one was the build-up.
Yeah, that was just the build-up.
And that goes with mine with the third round the same way. This commercial after the Super Bowl when it debuted had dozens of different changes to it and they added to it. But 1995 Budweiser with the frogs. You want to talk about something going viral before the internet was a thing? It was the frogs commercial with Budweiser. And if a commercial like that ever hit home that's all we would see on Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and whatever else the kids are using these days would be that commercial. This commercial went full on viral when it got done.
Yes, for sure.
Well, listen, if you're going to talk about that, Budweiser has done a roller coaster of what they want to do. I mean, you get the emotional Clydesdale ones, but then on the other hand, you get these guys talking about, the riveting frogs to Waza.
Wow, that was the first one that came to my mind.
Yeah, and so Budweiser has been all over the place. So I don't know if you can say the frogs one is the best one that ever come out for Budweiser.
It's their funniest one. It's the one that blew up the most. The What's Up one has turned into a thing as well, but I think the Budweiser one was less annoying when it took off. Like somebody coming around saying "Bud" around me was way more okay than "What's up?" Is that guy annoying really, really quick?
It reminds me of Doof.
Yes, and he has gotten annoying really, really quick. So. All right, last round pick there for Hagen.
So I went like very new, and it's just because everything is so active and everything is internet, hands free doing this. But back in 2018, this was when Alexa came and made her debut of, okay, Alexa, tell me this. And when you open up a commercial, okay, Alexa, how do you recipe for making a grilled cheese? And you get Gordon Ramsay to set the mood of you stupid. Yeah. The name is in it, but to get Anthony Hopkins, one of the best actors to ever to pull out his stuff from his movies to Cardi B talking about this guy wants to go to Mars, to the guy who's setting the mood tells Alexa set the mood, and you get the girl from Pitch Perfect that she's sitting in the bubble bath and she's talking about being in the bush.
Anna Kendrick,
yeah, so dirty, and just wait when you start with Gordon Ramsay and you end that commercial with Anthony Hopkins, and Alexa finally gets her voice back, and so. Alexa losing her voice, and that's one of the newest ones. You gotta have it on there.
No, it's too busy. There's too much to it. It's like all these other new commercials where they try to do too much.
Oh.
I keep it simple.
All
right. There you go. Those are our 3 picks for me. Oh, we lost Tony for a second. There he's back.
Yep. I'm kind of back. There we go.
Okay. So my 3 picks: the Hey Kid Catch from Coca-Cola, the Forest from Volkswagen.
Screwed up again.
That's right. And the Frogs from Budweiser. Are we losing them again? Internet. What are you gonna do? Here, while we're waiting for Tony to reset, why don't you give me your best, the company that's done the best?
Listen, for me, there's a couple of different companies that stand out.
All right.
You have to look at some of these commercials by company. I think Doritos has to be probably the best company set of commercials over the last 10 years, where they've went to the rocket. That one for me, the older man going into the rocket, but to the older actors of do you remember the 3D shaped Doritos and them throwing the entire bag into the laundromat and them shooting out Doritos? Doritos have come up with some really crazy commercials. So I think I'd have to lean that way.
For me, it's Budweiser. They had, as we've already said, they had the comedy, they had the touching commercials, and usually both of them in the same year. So for me, it's them. All right. So we got Tony back.
I was
before we lose him.
Yeah, I was talking though really quick, and when Denise and I were talking about this last week, the other one that she brought up of the company has to be the E-Trade Babies. They came out with so many funny things with the E-Trade Babies.
Yeah. All right, Tony. So my 3: Hey Kid Catch from Coca-Cola, the Force from Volkswagen, and Frogs from Budweiser. Robert has Snickers with Betty White, the Showdown from McDonald's, and Alexa loses her voice from Amazon. All right.
Right.
Who's the winner, sir, and why?
I gotta say, when you talk about football and what it means, growing up as a kid, you always think, you want to meet your heroes. So, I gotta lean with you, Randy. The Coke commercial with Mean Joe Green's classic. It's always there. Betty White's nice, rest in peace to Betty White, but I think Mean Joe takes the cake this go around.
I think the coolest thing with that one, and that's the most iconic one, hands down. That's the part of the whole draft thing is usually the first person gets it, he's going to win it. But the reunion they had in Super Bowl 50 and have those guys to come and meet, that was an awesome segment. If you haven't seen it, YouTube it is great.
4 weeks in a row.
I mean, the thing is, though, now I remember it was the Bud Bowl, right? That's what it was called when they did the Bud Light and Bud Light bottles commercials.
Yes, the Bud Bowl was really good. I remember that too.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a thing for years too.
Man, I'm gonna blame Mike Tatko. This is Tatko's fault because Tatko should have picked the best announcers 4 weeks ago, and now I've been on his skid since he's been on here.
He picked them, got that one right.
Tony Barton, he's fired. He's fired
again. I win again. You thought I was joking, before we started doing the judges, that I was winning all of them, and now you're learning. You got 2 in there early on. Now I'm back in my stride.
Maybe it's just me more sentimental. Maybe that's what it is. These are
I
grew up
on.
The
election commercial's horrible.
No,
Gordon Ramsay is funny. Then Cardi B's annoying, and
I think my favorite
Anthony Hopkins was weird. It was.
I think my favorite commercial right now, it has to be Gordon Ramsay with Stone Cold and Matt Ryan and Ice-T with the Tide commercial. I mean, they just are so funny, and I love Gordon Ramsay. So
it's too much. There's too much going on in commercials now. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. Right? Is that
all right? Let's get into it. Let's get to the event that took place in a football field. That was not the Pro Bowl. It was the Clash at the Coliseum. NASCAR driving in this quarter-mile track that they built after college football season was done at the Coliseum over there in LA. This was really cool. Now, the timing, the way they set it up, they had a bunch of heat races. They had 4 heat races with like 8 to 9 drivers in each one, which kind of gave you a taste of how things were going to go. And those went by pretty smoothly. And then you had your 2 last chance qualifiers where only the top 4 also made the show. And the first one was again pretty uneventful, but it was that last chance qualifier where you had some of the rookies in there, knowing that they had to be up there at the front to have a chance, where they wrecked every 3 laps, which was great because in the Clash, caution flags don't count. So it wasn't like we just watched the whole race under caution. It just took forever. And it was a mess, and I loved every second of it. What do you think of the pre-race activities?
I didn't get to see a lot of the pre-race activities, but the one big thing I saw about 4 heats or 3 heats, and I think I was more drawn to the cars this year. I don't know if it's
new cars, new gen. It's a new gen.
Yeah, and I really liked some of the paint schemes, how some of them were set up. But it's like you were saying, I mean, the laps were done just so quick. So
12, 13-second laps were insane.
I'm excited to see how this builds into over the next few years, if they keep it, if they move it at a different place. But I want to know the dollar amount. How much money did it cost to set that thing up? Because you've got how many loads of dirt that came in onto that field. And what it's going to cost to get rid of some of that stuff.
Yeah, and then they're just going to tear it all back down because they're doing it the one time, and they're going to move on from there. It's going to be interesting. It worked out viewership-wise from what I was able to find last year. The Clash had 1.75 million viewers. From what I saw on one site, it was showing the NASCAR Clash this year at 3.57 million viewers. Now, part of that is the Pro Bowl is so bad that they didn't have to worry about that. But they were still competing with the Olympics. They're still competing with PBA US Open, which I'm sure didn't have that great of a rating. And they were dealing with Pebble Beach. So they had a lot of competition this year. Joey Logano wins the race. Kyle Busch in second, Austin Dillon third, Eric Jones fourth, and Kyle Larson finished fifth. A little worried about some of the car issues that were happening during the race. Tyler Reddick was leading, and then all of a sudden just his car would not shift. They have a thing in there now that's called a transaxle, which I don't know what it is. And a lot of NASCAR guys were going, it's a piece that's new to this car, and they didn't even know, but it broke apparently on him. So new gen cars, it's the first year using them. You're going to have some technical issues as well. I'm still not 100% sold on the numbers not being centered on the side of the cars. They're kind of pushed up more, which
Upward.
allows the logo or the sponsors to get more of the room. I understand why they're doing it. It's just going to take me a little bit. And some paint schemes made it work better than others, for sure. But Daytona in a couple weeks, and then you get the crazy NASCAR schedule where they just continue to try to experiment. We get the Bristol Dirt Race again, which is going to be fantastic. A couple more road courses in there as well. What I love about NASCAR is, yes, it used to it's lost a lot of popularity over the years. Yes, a lot of people find it boring, but they're just doing anything they can. Like, they added a bunch of road courses because everyone said, "Oh, NASCAR does is turn left." Well, fine, we'll do all these road courses that other driving series do. That didn't work. Okay, we'll take this great racetrack and we'll just fill it with dirt. Okay, that didn't work. All right, this football stadium, we will fill it with dirt and pavement, and then we'll do this little baby track. Just whatever they could do to try to stem up some popularity, and this is what more sports need to do.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me, and I remember them talking about it at one point in between one of the heats, is this is Friday and Saturday night racing at its best at your local track. So go see these guys, go watch them race. And so, Denise and I have talked about going up and watching up in Coeur d'Alene, up at Post Falls, to go up and watch a race or two. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, it brings the feeling of the short track and just hard hitting all the time. So I was excited for it, but
I definitely do wish it was a little later in the day, so at least it would have finished in under the lights a bit more. Get the heats out there. The heat started at like 1 p.m. local time. That's a little early. Get the heats out there later. Let's get into the sports that don't get enough airtime, which I guess NASCAR is part of that, but we wanted to hit it a bit more than that. Tony Barton was here talking about bowling. U.S. Open went down. Anthony Simonson is now the youngest bowler to win 3 majors. He's 25 years old. Looking at the show, Jason Belmonte defeated Jake Peters and AJ Johnson. Then Anthony Simonson survived against Jason Belmonte. Neither of them could find the line at all. He wins that one 180 to 168. And then Simonson did finally find something, and Tackett was just lost when he showed up. Simonson wins that one 232 to 165. Out of the current bowlers, sir, where do you rank Anthony Simonson?
He's got to be top 5 for me. I think you look at this field that made the finals, they had a lot to deal with. The shot broke down so bad, so quick, and nobody could get it far enough right on that right-hand lane, and it just threw everybody for a loop. But I think I honestly probably put Simonson probably number 4. I like the way he played.
Who do you have ahead of him?
I love EJ Tackett. DJ is probably my favorite right now bowler out there on the tour. Jason Belmonte is there. And I still, even with all the stuff going on with AJ Johnson and Peters, the feel-good story right now of Jake Peters losing his wife a year ago. There's lots of different guys right now that would make that top list, but EJ Tackett has to be there, number 1. I would probably put Simonson maybe 3 or 4.
Simonson's 2 for me. He's just behind Belmo. Simonson is insane to watch. The fact they can throw a backup ball better than most people can throw it normally is just insane. He probably has the best raw talent on the tour right now. Just a little young, but still out there completely cleaning up. And well, the talent is not where it used to be. Just to see Norm Duke all the time, still making shows. He's probably my favorite guy to watch. And I go back and watch old Norm Duke stuff, and just he's so fun. And some of the conversations you can hear him get into, and his intensity is something I would love to figure out how to match at some point.
And even seeing Tommy Jones and Sean Rash still making the show.
Oh, we don't need to talk about Sean Rash.
Yeah. But I mean, for him to make the show, it's just crazy.
How impressive is it for everyone that made the match play at the U.S. Open? all of them had to end up bowling 56 games in 5 days. How
That's just
impressive is that to you?
that is just crazy, and just see and to them throwing out so many different patterns. You
Mhm.
had a different pattern every time, and for these guys to adapt, how EJ Tackett had a 500 pin lead over Simonson, it just talks about how the game has changed and the evolution. I don't quite agree with what happened over the last two with uh, having the different oil patterns. I'm not a big fan of if you're running one tournament, it should be one oil pattern. This the tournament there last week. You got one long pattern, one short pattern, two different balls. It just a little too crazy for me. Give me one pattern. I'm okay with
No,
that.
you gotta make it challenging. And they had some awful awful patterns at the U.S. Open. Those long flat patterns like they had on day 2. They've put them out a couple times for some of us to bowl on, and it's just near impossible. It feels like, and obviously not at their level by any means, but it's nice to see them struggle a little bit. All right, it's now time for This Week in Sports History, sir. What do you got?
I gotta keep it. We're almost out of time again,
I
so
know,
I'm gonna
I'm
keep
trying to
it
rush
very
through stuff.
short. I'm gonna keep it very short. I'm gonna do a couple of birthdays, and then I've got one stat. In 1895, both George Halas, also known as Papa Bear, the coach for the Chicago Bears, were born. Also, Babe Ruth was born this week in history. And also in 1942, Roger Starbuck was born. We did lose Arthur Ashe back in 1993. So he dies at the age of 49 of AIDS back then. But a couple of little notes for our This Week in History. 1977, Hillsdale High School defeats Person High School 2-0 in a basketball game that was tied for the lowest scoring high school basketball game. The last time that happened was February 5th, 2015, and it had the same score of 2-0 in Centerville, Alabama. And then in 2008 in Glendale, Arizona, the NFL Super Bowl 42. I had to think about it for a second. 42 is played. The New York Giants beat the previously undefeated New England Patriots 17-14. And the telecast was viewed by 97.4 million Americans, a record for a Super Bowl, making it the second largest TV audience behind MASH's finale in 1983. That Super Bowl is now 7th on the list, and MASH is now 9th on the list.
Now, how does it start below it and now it's ahead of it?
Did I type it wrong? I did not type it wrong. Did I type it wrong?
Well, you said it was behind the MASH finale, but now the Super Bowl is.
I typed it wrong. It should have been 8th. Sorry. It should have been 8th. So my question to you, sir,
Yeah.
is the top 30 most watched shows in of all times on TV has 2 events other than the Super Bowl, one of which is MASH. It is now 9th on the list. First of all, what is the number 1 Super Bowl that makes this list? And then 2, what is the other event?
God. Trying to think of like crazy Super Bowls that might have drawn people in. It makes me want to say New England and Atlanta because that went to overtime, but there was such a lead there. Maybe people turned away from it. Yeah, I'll just stick with that. I don't think it's right, but I'll say New England and Atlanta.
You're close. It was Super Bowl 49. It was New England against the Seattle Seahawks. Over 114 million people watched it. That's the one where Seattle did not run the ball.
That's awesome.
What is the other event that is on that
Is it
that
a
list?
sporting event?
It is a sporting event.
Is it an AFC Championship game?
No, and to be honest, you weren't born yet.
That doesn't help me.
Yeah, it was Leon Spinks taking on Muhammad Ali. They had over 90 million viewers back in 1978.
Yeah, before the pay-per-view wall.
Exactly.
That makes sense. All right. That's going to do it for us. I got to get out of here. I got to get to work. Thank you so much to Tony Barden for being our guest judge and, again, picking the correct winner. And thank you to Jared Fisher and Brian McElroy for coming on. A couple of MMA fighters. What are the dates again? April.
First one
April
for
something.
Brian. First one for Brian is March 18th up at Airway Heights.
And April
then Jared,
16th?
March 18th. And then both guys will be in action, and Jared Fisher in his pro debut April 23rd out at the Clearwater River Casino.
Yeah, so definitely go support those two. A great interview with them. We will be back here next week with our breakdown of the Super Bowl and everything else sports. But for now, that's Robert. I'm Randy, and we are out.